The Right Baby Name by Oliver Tavakol, M.D. Names and self-perception. Just as others will automatically form a mental picture of your child through the first exposure to her name, so your child will tend to develop her own self-perception and behavior under the influence of her name. Your child's flexibility of self-description, personality integration, variability, conflict behavior, expectations, and ambitions have all been shown to be impacted by her name. In practical terms, this means that the name you choose will be a factor in how your child behaves and develops. It can influence whether your child feels alone or part of a group, whether or not she is satisfied with her life, how she reacts to changing circumstances, external threats and opportunities, and what kind of goals she sets for herself. How can a name have this enormous impact on your baby? To answer this question, let us go back to an example I introduced earlier, where teachers graded essays by authors with names of different desirability. You remember that the teachers gave better grades to better names. In a continuation of that experiment, the researchers found that these teachers communicated their perceptions of the desirability of names in subtle ways to each of their students. It is very likely that this communication generally happens in all human interactions. In the student-teacher setting, it affects the student's personal expectations of their potential academic performance. Your child will thus learn from her teachers what she is worth academically. These assessments tend to become self-fulfilling prophecies. The phenomenon has been demonstrated again and again in many experiments and has been known for nearly 4 decades as the Pygmalion effect. Similar mechanisms shape her self-conception regarding beauty and social acceptance. However, not all effects of a name are simple projections of other people's preconceptions. A name imparts a sense of identity, and children are fascinated with their own names. It is the first word they learn to write. They attach a mystical quality to it and are captivated by other people who share their name. No wonder then, for example, that an unusual name, which will tend to make your child stand out from the crowd, affects her development. For reasons that are not fully understood, but probably because she is already used to getting additional attention when she is introduced to people, a person with an unusual name often craves the spotlight. In order to satisfy that craving, she will frequently overachieve. It is a positive cycle. Conversely, not everyone likes his or her own name, and people with surnames such as Small, Little, Short, or Bent tend to suffer from feelings of inferiority. Your child's first name carries the same, if not greater weight, in determining her sense of self-worth. A more likely complaint your child will have about the name you choose comes from a sense of commonness. If your child has to share her name with too many people that have the same name, she might feel as if she is an unrecognizable, insignificant element in a crowd of similarity. This has been reported to lead to feelings of mediocrity, as well as a general lack of ambition. It seems to be the reversal of the effect that makes people with unique names reach for the stars. People who bear the same name as a great many others tend to feel as though they are less special and do not claim what should be rightfully theirs. Ultimately, your child's self-perception will depend, in large part, on her name. The more special and unique the name is, the more special and unique your child will feel. It seems to be easy to avoid too common names simply by staying clear of notorious most favorite lists on the web or in commonly used baby name books. However, this may not be enough. The reason is that names come and go in trends. The 1990s, for example, saw the rise of place names such as Dakota and Iberia, a trend toward Irish names like Devon and Liam, and a return of the traditionals, for example, Jacob and Travis. These were broad trends, like fashions, that parents may have taken part in inadvertently, only later realizing that on their block there were 3 other kids with their unique name. There are always certain names in vogue, and you may just like them. But if you want to be unique, you will have to make a conscious effort to filter them out. Chapter 2 explains what you want to watch out for. But first, let me tell you in more detail what a name can do for your child's success. Names and success. As mentioned earlier, there is ample scientific evidence that suggests that names influence both the expectation of performance and the actual grades awarded to your child in school. How does this work? One factor is certainly the name's uniqueness. The more infrequent your child's name is, the more she will stand out from the crowd, and the higher her internal drive to achieve will be. This phenomenon has been proven to appear in both school-age children and adults, for example, scientists. But it does not explain why teachers, and later in life co-workers, bosses, and lovers, expect better performance from individuals with certain names. There are 2 theories that attempt to account for this observation. Let us call the first one the recall hypothesis. A child with a unique name will probably be remembered by a teacher more frequently than one whose name is a bit more mainstream. This name recollection will lead to more attention being given to your child, which in turn will stimulate her to higher accomplishments. The hypothesis neatly combines the internal and external effects of a name to explain why unique names can boost performance. Unfortunately, many, but not all, unique names are advantageous for your baby. In addition, some relatively common names, but virtually never the very common names, can convey a strong advantage. The recall hypothesis, therefore, cannot be the only explanation why uniqueness breeds success. For that reason, a second theory centered on class and status was developed. The key message is that certain names imply a higher social class, thanks to their more frequent use among the affluent in our society, or among respected professionals such as doctors and scientists. When your child bears one of these names, she can piggyback on the status and positive expectations that these groups enjoy, or reinforce the perception if you already belong to these circles. This theory is supported by the observation that the upper classes do indeed tend to use a distinctive name pool for their children, which makes it possible for teachers and others to learn which names are associated with high achievement or wealth. Intuitively, the broader public seems to understand this. An analysis of baby name trends shows that 5 to 10 years after a name starts to become popular among the wealthy, it gains momentum among a much wider segment of the population. It is far from easy, however, to effectively take advantage of the status effect of these names. Very soon after a name starts to develop mass appeal, the wealthy move on. If you want your child to be in the first wave and reap the benefits, you need to be quick. You cannot wait for trends to filter down. You can learn how to identify these trends in Chapter 2. But before, let me introduce the dark side of the status theory: prejudice.